The massive warship emerged from hyperspace like a dark cloud blocking out the stars. Its hull, covered in strange markings and battle scars, stretched for miles across Earth's orbit. Smaller ships surrounded it like worker bees around their queen, each one larger than humanity's biggest spacecraft. Inside the United Nations emergency chamber, screens displayed the alien vessel from every possible angle. The room was silent except for the soft hum of computers and the nervous breathing of world leaders gathered around the central table. "They're broadcasting something," announced the communications officer, his voice steady despite the tension. The main screen flickered to life, revealing a tall, gray-skinned figure in what appeared to be military dress. "I am Commander Ross of the Galactic Alliance," the alien spoke in perfect English, likely through some translation device. "Your planet has been chosen for immediate integration into our empire. Resistance is—" He paused, looking down at something off-screen, not advised. Ambassador Tom Smith stood up from his chair. At 55 years old, with gray hair and kind eyes, he looked more like someone's grandfather than humanity's last hope. "Commander Ross," he said, smiling warmly, "on behalf of Earth, I welcome you to our system. Perhaps we could discuss this face to face." The alien commander's eyes narrowed. "You wish to meet, after we have clearly stated our intentions." "Well," Smith replied, adjusting his glasses, "on Earth, we believe important decisions should be made over a proper meeting. It's only polite, wouldn't you agree?" The alien council members behind Ross whispered among themselves. Their commander raised a hand, silencing them. "Very well. We accept your request. It will make the transfer of power more official." "Excellent." Smith's smile grew wider. "There's a neutral space station at these coordinates. We can meet there in 6 hours. Ross nodded slowly, clearly confused by the human's cheerful demeanor. "We will be there. Do not attempt any foolish actions. Our weapons are trained on your major cities." Of course," Smith waved his hand dismissively. "We'll see you soon." As the transmission ended, the room erupted in voices. "Ambassador, are you sure about this?" asked the President of the United States. "They could kill you." Smith turned to face the room, his expression surprisingly calm. "They could have killed us all already if that was their plan. No, they'd want something else. And I have a feeling I know exactly what to do." Over the next 5 hours, while the alien ships loomed overhead, Smith made several calls. One was to a small farm in Kansas, another to a military research facility. By the time he boarded the shuttle to the space station, a small container sat beside him, occasionally making soft noises. The space station hung between Earth and the alien fleet like a small neutral island in a vast ocean. Smith's shuttle docked first, followed by the alien vessel. As the airlock cycled and the atmosphere stabilized, Smith straightened his tie and checked the container one last time. "Ready or not," he whispered, "here we go." The meeting room doors slid open with a soft hiss. Commander Ross entered first, his tall frame having to duck slightly under the doorway. Behind him came his advisors, each wearing elaborate armor that seemed designed more for show than protection. But what entered last made Smith's smile grow even wider. It was enormous, at least 12 feet tall, with armor plates covering its muscular body. Spikes protruded from its shoulders and back, and its eyes glowed with an unnatural red light. The creature moved with deadly grace, its claws leaving small scratches on the metal floor. "This," Ross announced proudly, "is the Beast, the ultimate weapon of the Galactic Alliance. I brought it so you could understand the futility of resistance." Smith looked at the terrifying creature, then at his small container, and had to stop himself from laughing. "How interesting," he said. "I brought something too." The container moved slightly, and a small whimper came from inside. Commander Ross paced around the meeting room, his boots making heavy sounds against the metal floor. The beast stood motionless beside him, its massive form casting a shadow that seemed to darken half the room. Every few seconds, its armor plates would shift and click, like a living tank adjusting its position. "Your time is running out, Ambassador Smith," Ross said, stopping to look out at Earth through the station's viewport. "The beast is just one of many. We have an entire army of these creatures, each one capable of destroying your largest cities." Smith sat calmly in his chair, one hand resting on the container beside him. It had been moving more frequently now, making soft scratching sounds. "That's very impressive," he said, checking his watch. "But before we discuss surrender terms, might I ask how you created these beasts?" Ross's chest swelled with pride. "They are our greatest achievement. We took the fiercest predators from 100 worlds and combined their best traits: strength, speed, intelligence, all enhanced through genetic engineering. They feel no fear, no mercy, no emotion except the drive to destroy." "No emotion at all?" Smith raised an eyebrow. "How interesting." The container suddenly rocked more forcefully, drawing everyone's attention. One of Ross's advisors reached for a weapon, but the commander waved them down. "What game are you playing, human? What's in that box?" "Oh, just Earth's response to your ultimatum." Smith stood up slowly, his hands raised to show he meant no harm. "May I?" Ross nodded, his curiosity overtaking his caution. The beast shifted slightly, its glowing red eyes fixed on the container. Smith knelt down and carefully unlatched the container's door. "Now, be gentle," he whispered. "These are new friends." What emerged made the alien council members step back in confusion. A small furry creature with pointed ears and a wagging tail bounced out of the container. It was a German shepherd puppy, no more than 12 weeks old, wearing a blue collar with a silver tag that jingled as it moved. This is your response." Ross's voice mixed anger and disbelief. "You mock us with a juvenile animal." But Ross's words trailed off as something unexpected happened. The beast, the unstoppable killing machine, the perfect weapon, took a step back. The puppy, completely unaware of the tension in the room, spotted the beast, and its tail began to wag faster. With the fearless curiosity that only young dogs possess, it trotted toward the massive creature. "Stop it," Ross commanded. "Beast, destroy that thing." The beast didn't move. For the first time in its existence, it seemed uncertain. Its glowing eyes dimmed slightly as it watched the puppy approach. The puppy reached the beast's foot, which was larger than its entire body, and did what puppies do best. It playfully pawed at the armored leg and let out a happy yip. The aliens watched in stunned silence as their ultimate weapon, their perfect killing machine, slowly lowered its massive head to look at the tiny creature that showed no fear of it. The puppy responded by licking the beast's armored face. "Impossible," one of Ross's advisors whispered. "The beast's genetic programming is meeting something it was never designed to handle." Smith finished for them. "Pure, unconditional friendliness. No fear, no aggression. Just love." The beast made a sound then, not the roar that had terrorized countless worlds, but something softer, almost like a purr. One of its massive clawed hands, capable of tearing through tank armor, gently, so gently, moved to shield the puppy as it playfully tumbled around its feet. Ross's face had turned a lighter shade of gray. "What have you done?" Smith smiled, watching as the puppy continued its assault of friendliness on the increasingly gentle beast. "We haven't done anything, Commander. We just brought one of humanity's oldest and most loyal friends to meet yours. Though I must say," he paused, eyes twinkling, "your ultimate weapon seems more like a big softy to me." The puppy barked in agreement, and for a moment, those present could have sworn they saw the beast's mouth curve into something resembling a smile. The meeting room had become eerily quiet, except for the happy pants and occasional barks of the puppy. The beast, still crouched near the floor, watched every movement of the small creature with intense fascination. Its massive claws, designed to tear through battleship armor, now carefully avoided touching the puppy's soft fur. "This is completely absurd," Ross muttered, pacing faster now. "Beast, I order you to step away from that creature immediately." The beast's ear plates twitched at the command, but it didn't move. The puppy had flopped onto its back, showing its belly in a universal sign of trust. The massive warrior tilted its head, confused by this display of complete vulnerability. Smith pulled something from his pocket, a small rubber ball. "Would you like to see something interesting, Commander?" Without waiting for an answer, he gently rolled the ball across the floor. The puppy immediately sprang up, chasing the ball with boundless enthusiasm. What happened next made the alien council members gasp. The beast, programmed for nothing but warfare, watched the ball roll past and shifted its weight as if wanting to chase it too. "Fascinating, isn't it?" Smith said, retrieving the ball. "You said your creation feels no emotion, but look at its eyes now." The beast's usual red glow had softened to an almost pink shade. It's experiencing something new. Playfulness. One of Ross's advisors stepped forward, a data pad in hand. "Commander, I'm receiving strange reports from the fleet. The other beasts, they're becoming restless. They can sense something's happening." The puppy, having gotten more comfortable with its enormous new friend, started playing a game of its own invention, running between the beast's legs like they were tree trunks in a forest. The beast remained perfectly still, afraid to move and risk hurting its tiny companion. "You don't understand what you're interfering with," Ross snapped at Smith. "The beasts are connected through a complex neural network. Whatever this one experiences, they all experience," Smith finished. "Yes, we figured that out pretty quickly. Your neural network is impressive, but it has a rather significant design flaw. It allows for emotional contagion." The puppy had gotten tired from all its playing and did something that made even Smith hold his breath. It curled up between the beast's front paws and began to doze off. The beast, moving with incredible delicacy, lowered itself to the ground, creating a protective circle around the sleeping pup. "What's happening to it?" one of the younger alien officers whispered. Smith's voice was soft but clear. "It's learning to be gentle. Your perfect weapon is discovering that strength isn't just about destruction. Sometimes, the strongest thing you can do is choose not to use your power." A low rumble filled the room, and for a moment the aliens tensed, thinking the beast was finally showing its true nature. But the sound wasn't a growl. It was more like a purr, a deep, contented sound that seemed to come from somewhere deep in the beast's chest. "Commander," another advisor called urgently. "The other beasts, they're making the same sound." Ross slumped into a chair, looking defeated. "Do you realize what you've done? Years of genetic engineering, countless resources spent creating the perfect warrior. And all it took to change them was a puppy," Smith said, smiling. "You know, Commander, on Earth we have a saying. The best way to defeat an enemy is to make them your friend." Though in this case, he gestured to the beast gently nuzzling the sleeping puppy. "I think we might have accidentally created something better than friendship. We may have just given your beasts a family." The puppy yawned in its sleep, and the beast's protective curl tightened ever so slightly. Around them, the space station hummed quietly, and somewhere in the distance, throughout the alien fleet, thousands of beasts began to learn what it meant to care for something smaller than themselves. The next few hours aboard the space station brought changes nobody had expected. The puppy, now fully rested from its nap, had decided that the beast was its new best friend. It brought its ball to the massive creature repeatedly, wagging its tail and waiting expectantly. At first, the beast just stared at the ball, its programming unable to comprehend this simple request for play. But then, slowly, carefully, it picked up the tiny ball between two enormous claws. The puppy waited, bouncing with excitement. "They're learning from each other," Smith explained to the bewildered alien council. "The puppy is teaching the beast how to be gentle, how to play, how to trust." And the beast. He paused as the massive creature delicately rolled the ball back to the puppy. "The beast is learning there's more to existence than following orders." Ross stood by the window, watching Earth rotate slowly below them. His communication device hadn't stopped buzzing with urgent messages from the fleet. "It's spreading," he said quietly. "Every beast in every ship. They're all changing. Some are refusing to enter their containment chambers. Others are requesting." He shook his head in disbelief. "They're requesting to visit Earth." The puppy had started a new game, pretending to chase its own tail. The beast watched this display with fascination, its head tilting from side to side. Then, to everyone's amazement, it began to move too. Not in the efficient, deadly way it was designed for, but in a clumsy, playful circle, attempting to mimic its tiny friend. "Remarkable," one of the alien scientists whispered, frantically taking notes. "The neural network that was supposed to make them perfect killing machines is instead spreading joy. The emotional transference is operating at levels we never thought possible." Smith nodded, reaching down to scratch behind the puppy's ears when it ran past. "Dogs have been humanity's companions for thousands of years. They've evolved alongside us, developing an almost supernatural ability to form emotional bonds. Your beasts might be the ultimate warriors, but they never stood a chance against millions of years of evolved friendliness." The beast had settled down again, and the puppy was using its massive armored arm as a slide, climbing up and sliding down while making happy little barks. Each time the pup reached the bottom, the beast would ever so gently lift it back up with one claw, starting the game again. "The engineering team is reporting strange changes in the beast's neural chemistry," another advisor announced, reading from a screen. "Their aggression levels are dropping. Oxytocin levels are rising. They're developing emotional attachments." Ross turned from the window, his face a mixture of anger and confusion. "This isn't possible. We designed them to be perfect, emotionless, unstoppable." "And that was your mistake," Smith said softly. "You created something capable of learning, but never taught it how to love. Nature abhors a vacuum, Commander. Your beasts were empty inside, waiting to be filled with something more than just programming and orders." The puppy, tired from playing, had curled up against the beast's chest plate. The massive creature's glowing eyes had turned a soft, gentle pink, and it had curled its body around the small dog in a protective gesture that seemed to come naturally now. "Look at them," Smith continued. "Your ultimate weapon has become a guardian. And through your neural network, every beast in your fleet is feeling this same connection, this same desire to protect rather than destroy." Ross watched as his perfect warrior, the culmination of years of military research, gently nuzzled the sleeping puppy. "What do we do now?" he asked, sounding lost. "Now," Smith smiled. "Now we talk about peace, because I don't think your beasts will be interested in fighting anymore. They'd found something far more important. They've found friendship. And once you've experienced that kind of connection, there's no going back to being alone." Throughout the alien fleet, in every ship and on every world they controlled, the beasts were changing. The universe's deadliest army was learning how to play, how to care, how to love, all because of one small puppy who wasn't afraid to make friends. The space station's communication system was overwhelmed with incoming messages. Every ship in the alien fleet was reporting the same thing. The beasts were changing. Ross stood at the central console, watching as report after report flooded in. "Sir, the beasts in Sector 7 have left their battle stations," one officer reported nervously. They're gathering in the recreation areas, requesting access to the Earth Information Network. They want to see more dogs." The beast in the meeting room had not moved from its spot, still carefully watching over its sleeping puppy friend. Its once fearsome armor now seemed more like a protective shell, its deadly weapons transformed into tools for gentle play. "It was never about the puppy, was it?" Ross asked, turning to Smith. "You knew about the neural network. You planned this." Smith nodded slowly. "We intercepted your communications months ago. We learned about the beasts, their connected minds, their empty hearts. And we knew exactly what they needed. He gestured to the puppy. Not weapons, not threats, not violence. Just a friend. Another officer burst into the room, almost tripping over his own feet. Commander, the beasts in the primary fleet, they're demanding changes to their living quarters. They want comfort items, soft things, places to rest. Of course they do, Smith said softly. They're learning what it means to feel at home, to belong somewhere, to have a space of their own that isn't just a weapons storage facility. The puppy woke up from its nap and stretched, yawning widely. The beast immediately focused all its attention on the small creature, its massive head lowering to check if its friend was okay. The puppy responded by giving the beast's armored nose a tiny lick, making the massive creature emit that strange purring sound again. The neural network, Ross muttered. It's not just sharing the emotions, is it? It's amplifying them. Each beast that feels this connection, makes all the others feel it too, Smith finished. A cascade of compassion spreading through your entire fleet. Your perfect weapon is becoming something else, something better. Alerts continued to sound throughout the station. More reports poured in. Beasts refusing to run combat drills. Beasts requesting access to Earth's cultural database. Beasts trying to create comfortable spaces in their quarters. Sir, another officer called out. The engineering team reports that the beasts' neural patterns are completely changing. The aggression protocols are being overwritten by love, Smith said simply. The most powerful force in any universe. You built warriors, Commander, but you forgot that even the strongest fighters need something to fight for. Your beasts have found that something. Connection, companionship, care. The puppy had started a new game, picking up its ball and running in circles around the beast. The massive creature watched with what could only be described as joy, its deadly arsenal of weapons completely forgotten in the simple pleasure of playing with a friend. This is why Earth never developed super soldiers or living weapons, Smith explained. We learned long ago that the strongest bonds aren't forged in combat. They're forged in friendship, in trust, in love. Your beasts aren't being weakened by these feelings. They're becoming stronger in a different way. Ross watched as his ultimate weapon, the pride of the Galactic Alliance's military might, gently picked up the puppy and cradled it in its massive arms. The puppy snuggled into the warmth of its new friend, completely unafraid of the creature that could crush it with a single motion. You've started a revolution, Ross said quietly. Not with weapons or warfare, but with a puppy. Smith smiled, watching the unlikely friends. Sometimes the biggest changes start with the smallest things. Your beasts aren't just weapons anymore, Commander. They're becoming something far more powerful. They're becoming friends, protectors, companions. And there's no going back from that. Throughout the fleet, thousands of beasts looked toward Earth with new eyes, their hearts open to possibilities they had never known existed. The revolution had begun, not with a bang, but with a friendly bark and a wagging tail. The emergency alarms on the station had been ringing for the past hour. Ross's command staff rushed back and forth, trying to handle the flood of reports from the fleet. The situation was spiraling out of their control. Commander, a young officer reported, his voice shaking. 3 more beast units have broken out of their containment areas. They're gathering in the ship's common areas. They're watching Earth videos about dogs. Ross slumped in his chair, watching as his perfect military force transformed before his eyes. The beast in the room had not moved from its position near the puppy, but its behavior had changed dramatically. Its once rigid military posture had softened, its movements more gentle and careful. You have a choice to make, Commander, Smith said quietly. Your beasts are making theirs right now. As if to prove his point, the main screen lit up with multiple transmissions from different ships. Beasts everywhere were refusing combat drills. Some had started rearranging their quarters, creating comfortable spaces instead of standing at attention. Others were requesting access to Earth's databases, particularly anything involving dogs, cats, and other companion animals. "Sir," another officer burst into the room. "The beasts in the main fleet. They're protecting the civilian workers now. They're refusing to let anyone send them back to their combat stations. They say—" He paused, checking his notes in disbelief. "They say they want to be guardians, not destroyers." The puppy, sensing the tension in the room, trotted over to Ross's chair. It sat in front of him, tail wagging, looking up with those innocent eyes that had somehow managed to change the most fearsome military force in the galaxy. The beast watched carefully, its massive form tensed not for attack, but from concern for its small friend. Ross looked down at the puppy, then at the beast, then at the screen showing similar scenes playing out across his fleet. "They were supposed to be perfect," he whispered. "Emotionless, unstoppable. And now they're becoming something better," Smith replied. "They're choosing to be protectors instead of destroyers. Look at them, Commander. They're not weaker, they're stronger. They found something worth protecting." The beast demonstrated this by gently reaching down and lifting the puppy away from Ross, cradling it protectively. The puppy licked its armored face, causing that now familiar purring sound to fill the room. "The neural network is at full capacity," a science officer reported. "The emotional patterns are stabilizing across all units. They're making a collective decision, sir." Ross stood up, facing the screens showing his transformed army. "What kind of decision?" As if in answer, the beast in the room stepped forward. Its eyes, once burning red with programmed rage, now glowed a soft pink. It looked at Ross, then at Smith, then down at the puppy in its arms. When it spoke, its voice was deep but gentle, the voice of a guardian, not a weapon. "We choose life," it said simply. "We choose friendship. We choose protection over destruction." The room fell silent. It was the first time any beast had spoken outside of combat commands. All across the fleet, the science officer whispered, "They're all saying the same thing." Smith smiled. "You gave them the ability to learn, Commander. Now they've learned the most important lesson of all, the choice between being a weapon and being a friend." Ross looked at his greatest creation, now transformed by the simplest of Earth's companions. The beast stood tall, no longer a mindless weapon, but a conscious being making its own choice. In its arms, the puppy slept peacefully, completely trusting its enormous friend. "It seems," Ross said finally, "I have a choice to make as well." "Yes," Smith agreed. "You can fight this change and lose everything, or," he gestured to the beast and its tiny friend, "you can learn from them. After all, Commander, if your deadliest weapons can choose peace, maybe it's time for their commanders to do the same." Throughout the fleet, thousands of beasts waited for their commander's decision, their new hearts full of something they had never known before: hope. 6 months had passed since the day a puppy changed the fate of the galaxy. The space station, once a neutral meeting ground, had been transformed into something entirely new: the first Joint Human Alliance Peace Center. Commander Ross stood at the observation deck, watching an unusual sight. Below, in what used to be a military parade ground, dozens of beasts played with earth dogs of all sizes. Their powerful armor, once designed for war, now bore new markings: Galactic Guardian Force. "Quite a change, isn't it?" Smith asked, joining him at the window. The ambassador had just finished another successful diplomatic meeting, helping integrate more Alliance worlds into the new peaceful Federation. "I never thought I'd see this," Ross admitted, watching as a beast gently tossed a ball for a group of excited golden retrievers. "They were supposed to be our greatest weapons. Now they're the galaxy's greatest protectors," Smith finished. "And they're happier for it. We all are." The original puppy, now bigger but still tiny compared to its beast friend, ran past the window chasing a toy. The first beast, the one who started it all, followed close behind, its movements careful and playful. They had become inseparable, and their bond had set the standard for the new program. The integration rates have exceeded all expectations, a young human alliance liaison reported, approaching with a datapad. Every beast has been successfully paired with at least one Earth dog. Crime rates have dropped 90% in areas where they patrol together. They're especially good with children. Ross nodded, remembering how his fearsome army had transformed into something he never could have imagined. The beasts now served as guardians, protectors, and peacekeepers. Their neural network, once used to coordinate attacks, now spread compassion and understanding throughout the galaxy. Earth's veterinary schools have adapted wonderfully, Smith added. Who would have thought we'd need doctors specialized in both dog and beast care? They work together in pairs now. One beast, one dog, keeping the peace across the stars. Through the window, they could see a new group arriving. Fresh beast recruits for the Guardian program. Instead of weapon drills, they would receive training in gentle movement, emotional understanding, and working with their new dog partners. The latest survey shows interesting results, the liaison continued. Planets under beast dog protection report the highest satisfaction rates in the galaxy. People feel safer knowing their guardians protect out of love, not programming. A small child on the parade ground had fallen down. Before anyone could react, the nearest beast had already gently lifted the child back to their feet, while its dog partner offered comforting licks. The child's laughter echoed through the station. "You know what amazes me most?" Ross said, turning to Smith. "We spent years trying to create the perfect warrior, but in the end, friendship proved stronger than any weapon," Smith finished. "Your beasts didn't just learn to be gentle. They taught us all something about strength. Real power isn't in the ability to destroy, but in the choice to protect." The original beast and puppy, now dog, had settled near a garden area, watching the stars together. Other pairs joined them, creating a peaceful scene that would have been unimaginable just months ago. "The Alliance Council meets next week," Ross said. "They're voting on officially changing our name to the Galactic Federation of Protected Worlds. The beasts will be recognized as full citizens, with their dog partners given special diplomatic status." Smith smiled. "Not bad for a species that was ready to conquer us 6 months ago." "We thought we were coming to teach humanity about power," Ross admitted. "Instead, your species taught us about something far more important, love." As the station rotated, Earth came into view, beautiful and blue in the distance. Around it, ships of the new Federation patrolled peacefully, each carrying pairs of unlikely friends. Massive, armored beasts and their loyal dog partners, guardians of a galaxy that had learned to choose love over war. The first beast looked up at the stars, its tiny friend sleeping peacefully against its armor, and made the sound that had started it all. Not a roar of rage, but a purr of contentment. Throughout the Federation, thousands of its kindred echoed the sound, celebrating a future they had chosen for themselves. All because one small puppy hadn't been afraid to make friends with a beast